Models of Worship 3. The Paschal Lamb.
The paschal or sacrifice model is built around the Passover of the Old Testament and is also built around the Lord's Supper in the New Testament. It is centered around the forgiveness of sins and the deliverance of the people from their old lives. It is found in the Old Testament Passover and in the New Testament Lord's Supper.
In the Paschal model, the focus is on the central sacrifice. Exodus 12:3-14 says, "Tell all the congregation of Israel that on the 10th day of the month every man shall take a lamb according to their fathers' houses, a lamb for a household. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male, a year old. And you shall keep it until the 14th day of this month, and then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill their lambs at twilight. And they shall eat the flesh that night, roasted on the fire, with unleavened bread and bitter herbs they shall eat it. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and strike all the firstborn of the land of Egypt, both men and beasts. And on all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign to you on the houses where you are. For when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt." The Passover feast was built around the slaughtering and eating of a lamb without spot or wrinkle for deliverance of the people. This lamb was slain with elaborate ceremony and served as a communal meal. But the blood of the lamb on the doorpost was a sign to God of the dedication of that house to Him, and a sign to the people of God's mercy towards them. The Passover feast is the basis for the New Testament Lord's Supper. Jesus is the spotless Lamb. His atoning death made it possible for us to leave sin and be set free. It also unites the church, the new Israel, together in one people, just like the ancient Passover celebration united people to Israel to begin with. When Jesus instituted the church, He used the Passover feast to introduce it. He also said to repeat the Lord's Supper as often as you do this in remembrance of Him. Now, whether Jesus meant that we, as often as we come together to have the Lord's Supper, or whether He meant to remember Him as often as we have the Lord's Supper, is a matter of interpretation. What is most important is to see that God intended for us to use the Passover feast, the Lord's Supper, as a way of remembering His death and atonement for us. Traditional churches such as Orthodox, Catholic, and Lutheran churches, as well as many other churches such as the Church of Christ and the Christian denomination, the Paschal Lord's Supper is the center of worship. The preparation for the Lord's Supper and the serving of it, the partaking of it, and the celebration of it is related to the center of the service. This model of the worship centers us weekly on the atoning death of Christ, His blood, and His forgiveness. It generally follows this pattern. First, there's a prayer of praise or thanksgiving, followed by repentance of sin and assurance of pardon. Then there's a partaking of the symbols of Christ's forgiveness in the bread and the wine. And then there's a time of celebration and rejoicing.
The paschal model keeps Christ's work on the cross as the center of the worship service. Often in Protestant churches, we see that the music of the preacher or some aspect of worship, entertainment perhaps, or even dynamic preaching winds up becoming the center rather than Christ. When that happens, worship becomes entertainment or an exercise in personal egos. But this paschal model, focusing upon the Lord's Supper and upon what Christ has done for us, puts the center of the worship squarely where it ought to be, on Jesus Christ. It means that we go to worship and we think first of all not about the preacher, not about the music, but about what Christ has done for us.